Hello YouTube friends, Jenny here with FlossTube episode 3. Not sure how well this is gonna go. I'm having once again problems with my iPhone. I wish I had like a fancy camera to film on, but I'm limited to the iPhone. And sometimes it films great and other times it's like, hey, are you in the middle of a big long video? Cool, I'm gonna stop filming and delete everything. And that's what it's been doing today. This is about my 7th time starting, and if it doesn't work this time, I'm done. So I'm gonna dive in. And the first thing I'm going to show you is my first finish. If you watched my episode 1 or 2, first of all, thank you for watching and for coming back. But in those episodes, I mentioned I used to cross stitch as a little girl and I haven't done it many years, and I'm just now getting back into it. And last time I showed you I had started a design and I finished it. So without further ado, here is my finished piece. It is called Pink Roses Bouquet. It's a free pattern by the DMC company, and I'll put all project details, links, everything below. And if I miss anything, just ask me and I'd be happy to share. This is, again, a free pattern. I used all the called for colors and I stitched it on an 18 count Aida. And I'm really, really happy with this. I have a sewing room with pink walls and I think it's gonna look so pretty. I'm gonna do a white square frame and then a mat with an oval cutout in either a green or pink. I'm currently leaning towards the green. My husband is really good at cutting out mats and that kind of thing. He has all the tools, so he's gonna do that for me. But I just have to find a frame first. So that was that. And of course, with a finish, one has to have a start. And in my case, I had 2 starts. I really thought I was gonna be kind of monogamous the way I am with my needlepoint, but I'm not. I'm gonna just stitch everything. So I have 2 starts today, and they are 2 projects that I told you about last time, but I'll talk about them again. The first one is Holly Hobby, and I'll put an image of the vintage book that I'm working from here, and I'm doing the cover design, and I'm using all the called for colors. And here's the palette here. Very rainbowy. I just love these colors. They're not typically Jenny colors, but I really like them. I'm excited about this. And the fabric I'm using is, I think it was a DMC Monaco, I believe it was called. I'll put the accurate information below. And the color is tea-dyed. And here is how far I have got with Holly Hobby. So just the top of a bonnet. Usually I like to work top down. I know a lot of people like middle out, but I'm a top down kind of a girl, so I started with her bonnet. I haven't made a ton of progress on this one because I got really excited about the other project that I've been working more on, but I wanted to at least start this so that I would know whether or not I like working with non-Aida cloth, and I found I like Aida and non-Aida the same, so I'll probably work with both depending on the project. So that was very exciting. And then the other start I have, I mentioned last time, I'll put the design in. It is called Visit Hogsmeade, and it's Harry Potter themed, of course. Done like a vintage travel poster. I just love it. I'm so excited. And last time I was really agonizing over what fabric to choose, and I did finally make a decision. I went with a 14 count Aida by Wickelt, and the color is French Lace. And I thought it was gonna be like a beigey gray, and when it showed up, it had a green tinge to it, which is perfect. For my design, perfect, because there's a lot of greeny gray colors. So I'm gonna show you the fabric, my color palette, and where I'm at. So you can see that these colors work pretty well. I hope you can tell that the color, I mean, maybe it will just read as a white fabric, but it's not. It's like a greeny, gray, beigey, perfect. Perfect. And like I said, normally I do top down, and I did start out, but it's a lot of sky. So I decided in this case, I think I'm actually gonna work across the middle band and do like the kind of village scene first. Then I'll fill in the sky, and then I'll end with the words across the bottom. So yeah, I think it'll be great. And this is also showing you some of my haul, because this piece of fabric was haul, and also this frame. I've heard people mention that the actual Q-Snap brand is worth it, and that the non-brand snap frames tend to not hold tension, and I found this to be absolutely true. The roses I stitched on an off-brand one that I'd had for years but never really used that much, and I had to adjust tension like constantly. Like, I want to say every few stitches I was ready for an adjustment, but I obviously didn't adjust it that much. And I thought maybe it's because I didn't leave enough seam allowance along the edge to wrap around, but this here is an actual Q-Snap that I've just treated myself to. And there's hardly any fabric, and I never have to adjust this. I think I've adjusted it like twice in all the stitching. And by adjust, I mean like that much. So Q-Snap brand all the way. It's worth it. It doesn't cost that much more. I think it's around the same price actually, maybe an extra $1 or $2 for shipping if you're going from someplace like 123 Stitch, which is where I got this. But yeah, highly recommend. So other projects that I talked about last time, I didn't actually start on, were the Star Wars kit. I did manage to sort of give myself some anchoring lines here, but I went to iron this piece of fabric because it had some pretty decent creases from being shipped in the kit. And when I did, I used like a little spritzer on it and found that the fabric is not color fast. So I have stains on my ironing board now, which is a bummer. But also I'm just concerned about, I don't like using non-color fast fabrics, so I don't know what to do. I really agonize. Do I buy a new piece of fabric that's better quality? Do I try to set the color on this one? Like what to do? Ultimately, I think I'm just gonna go with the fabric and hope for the best. It's not a piece I should have to wash. Like once it's done, it will be framed. And even if I did get some sort of little smudge on it while I'm working, I mean, you're not gonna see it. It's white, right? So I think it's gonna be okay. So I was going to go ahead and start it, but then I started looking at the chart and I just got stressed out because it's not like a normal project. Like Hogsmeade here is 2 strands, always of one color, cross stitch. Awesome. This one is like, well, sometimes we'll use 1 strand, sometimes we'll use 2, sometimes we'll half, sometimes we'll full cross, or we'll back stitch. And you know, maybe it's 2 strands of one color, maybe it's 1 each of 2 different colors. It's like all over the place. And so there's that. And then I also couldn't decide where to start on the chart. Like I stared at the chart for a really long time, like here, no, here, no, here. No. I couldn't decide. And so I ended up doing nothing. Indecision led to no progress. So at some point I will have to sit down and just start it. And then I know it will be fine. It just won't be as relaxing a project as my other ones because there's so much going on and I'm gonna have to really pay attention. And I mentioned last time too, I really hate the 2-color chart. It's where the same symbol can mean 2 different things if the symbol is printed in red instead of blue, instead of black. So actually 3-color chart, it's just, it's gonna be stressful, but the end result will be worth it. My husband will love it. So I'll get to that, but just not yet. And then I had one other project that I told you guys about, which was the sunset moth. And I'll pop a picture in here of the design or the booklet or something. And I had told you I had some of the colors and had substitutions for the others. So that is my color palette. I pulled it out so you can see. It's very bright and cheerful. I think it'll be so cute. And another piece of the haul is the fabric I got for it, which is very boring, just this plain white fabric. This is a Zweigart 40 count Verdal even weave. So yeah, nothing to really write home about that. This is the one I think I might start this weekend. I don't know, we'll see. Okay, and then I had one other haul item. There is a magazine that came out and oh, I actually forgot to write down, I have some notes here I'm looking at. I forgot to write down the name of the magazine. It's like Punch Needle and Primitive Stitcher, something like that. And they have a design in it this month or this season. I can't even remember. I'm just gonna have to put details below. My brain, I'll get to why my brain is a mess. My brain is a mess right now. But basically they have a design in there called Linen Labels. And I will put like a little picture of the design. And I just thought it's so simple and cute and I really like it. And I just wanted to work it. I'm gonna make it into a pincushion. And I think it'll be a fun, quick thing. So I did buy a piece of fabric and a thread for that. And that's what I picked. So the fabric is a Zweigart 36 count Edinburgh linen and the color is Winter Moon, which is such a pretty name, isn't it? I love the names of things. And then the called for floss was like a fancy hand dyed or maybe a silk floss. And they were out of stock of it at 123 Stitch, or else I probably would have treated myself because it's just the one and I can splurge on that. But they were out of stock, so I had a look at my DMC chart and I chose a variegated DMC color. They had recommended some solid colors in the chart, but I mean, it's such a simple design. I think this is the perfect opportunity for variegated. So I went with 4140, which is called Driftwood, and I think the colors are really close to the original. I'll try to like close up there. Hopefully you can see that. Yeah, so I think that will be a fun, quick little stitch. I'm looking forward to it. So the only other needlework update I have is that I continued working a tiny bit, not a lot, but a little bit on this, which is Newton Abbott. It's my current Petty Point dollhouse carpet project that I've shown you in my last 2 episodes, and I'll be showing you probably till the day I die. If you may recall, I had mentioned this isn't the most pleasant stitch because of all the different, this is not one solid band of yellow, it's a bunch of shades of the same, so close to the same color. And it's really hard to see, but this is not a downer of a conversation about this because I have some thoughts. And one thing I think I'm going to start doing is, instead of working like half stitch across the row and then coming back and crossing the row, I think I'm going to cross each stitch as I come to it, and I think that is going to really help. And the other thing I think I'm going to do is, maybe instead of working one color and doing multiple rows of one color, I think I will just finish an entire row. So just start all the colors and then, you know, pick up and drop threads as I need. Like, I'll just thread a bunch of needles and I'll just work across one row at a time. And I think those 2 things are going to make a difference. That, and I do have the floor stand that I showed you and was talking about last episode, and it is the, I believe it's F.A. Edmonds is the company, and it's their universal craft stand. And I'm actually really happy with it. There was that little drama at first where the legs snapped, but they immediately sent me a replacement. We're so nice about it, and it's been fine ever since. And the only other thing, I mentioned this last time, I was really concerned about how I was going to start and finish threads, because it's like 2 long pieces of wood clamp onto the frame like this, and they screw them with 2 wing nuts. So I was thinking to unscrew and take that out every time I need to start and stop a thread is going to be a nightmare. But I'm silly because just beyond that clamp, there is a little knob that you can turn with a piece of wood that holds the clamp so that you can slightly angle your frame, right? Yeah, so just turn the knob and angle it all the way up. It's so easy. I don't know why I didn't think of it right away, but that's what I've been doing, and it totally works. And I love the stand. It's made a real difference. When I'm doing a project that's not so tedious, I'll be able to really get in the groove and go. And work 2-handed, which is my preferred method of working. So I think it's going to be great. So that's everything I've been working on, but I am going to have one more project upcoming, and this kind of gets into a little bit of life chatter. So I know I've mentioned my granny in the past episodes if you've watched them. She's a really, really special person. She's so much of what I am, and I'm sorry I'm going to get teary-eyed. I think you're probably going to know where this is going, but she's more than a grandmother to me. She's been like a mother and a teacher, a role model, a friend, a kindred spirit, right? She's given me my love of sewing, my love of dolls, and just everything to me. And last time I was mentioning that she'd had COVID and seemed to be on the mend, but unfortunately I did lose my granny, and it's been really, really hard, but I'm gonna try not to cry, and no one wants to see that. But I just wanted to mention it because, first of all, it's a big thing that's happened in my life, and also because I'm trying to think of a way I could do some sort of tribute, memorial tribute type of project for her to honor her. And I had thought maybe of doing some sort of sampler with like all the little components of it would be things that made me think of her. Like maybe like the tomato pincushion, because to represent her sewing, and dolls to represent her love of dolls. And she was also always telling me fairy stories when I was little, so maybe a little fairy. I thought I would put all these components together. But I'm just not seeing that in my mind's eye. I'm not sure. I'm just gonna have to try to think about that. And this will have to be something I chart myself, obviously, which is a whole new world I'll have to get into. But that was one idea. And the other idea I was kind of thinking of is for my grandmother, like homemaking was like her big thing. She made the most comfortable, awesome home. And so I thought it might be a nice thing to do a design that's just her house. And she was always so proud of the flowers across the front and everything. So I thought maybe like a full coverage or almost full coverage piece with like the front of her house and the little flowers across the front would be fun. And that one I can see in my mind's eye. So this might be the way I go. I might try experimenting with charting the two of them and see which one I feel like is going the best. But right now in my mind's eye, I'm seeing her beautiful little house. She had like a house that was like blue and had some brick on it. And she always had a row of flowers across the front, impatiens. They were always impatiens. The memorable year that sticks out in my head, they were pink and white alternating. So I think that's kind of my color palette. And she had this house on this beautiful piece of land that was like super quiet. It was a cul-de-sac. She was at the end, and it was just beautiful forest. It was a home that had been built in like I think the early 90s, before they started doing this thing where when they build a new home, they just level the land and take out every single piece of tree and wildlife. Like, I hate that so much. So she had lots of established trees, and it was very beautiful. So I was thinking I might try to get a piece of very special hand-dyed fabric in like a mottled green. And that way, instead of doing full coverage with all the trees and everything, I would let the mottled green fabric be the background, and I would just be stitching her house and some of like the focal point trees and flowers. So that's what I'm thinking of. I'm not really sure how I'm gonna go about getting my hands on a hand-dyed fabric. I don't think I feel comfortable dyeing it myself. I can dye yarn and things like that, and I could dye a solid color fabric, but I really think making that beautiful mottled shaded fabric that people make, I think that's a real skill set, and I'm not there yet. So I think I'm gonna try to find it. Sorry about that abrupt cut off. My camera became full and I had to empty it to make room. Anyway, I think what I was saying was that I was going to try to find a hand-dyed fabric, and I'm not sure how I'm going to go about that, because normally I shop for supplies online. I don't really have a local needlepoint shop. I think a new one did open that's kind of like an hour-ish for me, and it's not the best drive. I'm a very nervous driver, so I might have to see if someone wants to go with me. Looking at you, Kayla. Just to see if maybe they carry something like what I have in mind. But other than that, I'm gonna have to try to look online, and that's gonna be tricky because it's so hard to tell colors on a monitor, and I'm being very particular about the colors for this project. I really want to have that sort of like evergreen kind of a background and not like an olive or chartreuse or anything like that. So I don't know, I'll have to think about it, but I think that will be one of my upcoming projects, sort of as a nice tribute. So that's about everything I had to talk about today. I can't remember what else I had talked about before the camera cut off, so hopefully I haven't like stopped mid-thought and missed something. But thank you so much for watching, and happy stitching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!